Yoga, everyone. Shall we begin?
Technically, your meat.
Hariom, everyone. So we're doing Upanishad Vidyasar, which is the essence of Brahma Vidya, Atma Vidya. We began by saying life is short, knowledge is infinite, so we should discard the unnecessary and just select and study the essence of Brahma Vidya. This text is called Upanishad Vidyasara, which is 25 mantras chosen by Pujya Guruji from various Upanishads with 2 Shanti parts. We've done the Shanti part, we've done the first shloka, which is the Mangalachara. Mangalachara is the auspicious invocation, which is a unique mantra because it also indicates the nature of the subject matter. Then the first shloka was Parikshalokan Karvachitan Brahmana Nirvedamaya na asti akrita kridena. Tadvijnanartham sa guru eva abhigacche samitpani shrotriyam brahmanishtam. What should a student do? Well, it says that the student, after examining life in its entirety, all the experiences, his or her experiences, all the karmas that one can do in this loka and other lokas, either through direct knowledge or through vicarious knowledge or through the words of the scriptures, anything I do is finite. The results are finite. Therefore, the only thing possible in my life is a change in the quantitative aspect of what I have, where I go, what I do, where I reach, but there can be no qualitative change. Just this understanding in itself and is known as Viveka. So that's the first quality of a seeker is Viveka. The second quality is upon realizing the futility of everything we have done for lives that we cannot even count and continue to do, nirvedamaya na asti akrita kritena. A dispassion is developed that through finite actions, krita, akrita is eternal, is not possible. So through doing, eternal is not possible, permanent is not possible. And therefore, one develops a dispassion towards what I was always doing, because I realized if I always do what I always did, I will always get what I always got. So from Vivek is born dispassion, Vairagya. This is the journey. Tat Vijnanartham, so to know that absolute truth, which is permanent, immutable, Tat Vijnanartham, that, to know that, Sa Guru eva abhigachet. He must go to a guru. He goes to a guru. Implied in there is Shraddha, which we will come to, because he has faith that I want something which is different from what I currently have, and I can only learn it from a guru. So again, the instructions are clear. If one says, I can study this by myself, Shankaracharya makes it very clear, Shastrajyopi Swatantrena Brahmajnana Vesharam na kurya. Don't even think of getting this knowledge by yourself, because it is not possible. Sa Guru Meva Bigachit. How? Samit Pani. Samit Pani. Pani is hand. Samit, whatever he has, he offers to the Guru. Again, it implies a sense of humility. What is the characteristics of the Guru? It began by saying Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Established in the truth, Brahmanishta, and Shrotriyam, well versed in the scriptures, because we said Vedanta is the pramana. He must know Vedanta so he can communicate in Vedanta. So the student whose questions are at the intellectual level can be answered at the intellectual level by the Guru. And we'll come to this point. Remind me if I don't, about intellectual level. We at Chidvaya Mission get stuck at the intellectual level. And it's quite sad to see. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. That's where we left off. Bhagavad Gita says, Jnanina Tattva Darshina. So you go to one who's a Jnani and a Tattva Darshanam. Same thing. He must be a Shrotriya and a Brahmanishta. So the two qualifications noted for this whole section is known as the Shiksha Lakshana and Guru Lakshana. What are the characteristics of the student and the characteristics of the teacher? That's a very big part of Vedanta. So the next shloka now feeds into this further to explain, now that you've got the Vivek, you've got the Vairagya, you've got the Shraddha, and gone to a Guru who is a qualified Guru, he's a Shrotriya Brahmanishta, then what? Shloka number, I think it's 4. No, mantra number 3, which is page 30. Yes, mantra number 3. We've done the Shanti part with the Parikshalokan, and now it's this one. Tasmai Savidvan Upasannaya Samyak Prashanta Chittaya Shaman Vitaya Yena Aksharam Purusham Veda Satyam Provachatam Tattvato Brahma Vidyam. This again is from the Mundaka Upanishad. It immediately follows the previous one in the Mundaka, which was Parikshalokan, is the very next shloka. Shloka number 13, I believe, in Mundaka Upanishad. Yeah, 1, 2, 13, it says. Literal, tasmai, to that student. Sa Vidvan, who has approached a Vidvan, a Guru, a wise teacher, an enlightened master. Upasannaya. Upasannaya, he has approached the teacher. Upa, come near. Samyak, in the proper way. So this is a loaded statement. In the past it said vidhivat. He's properly or duly approached the teacher in the right way. Now, this is important. The whole section is given on Vivek Chudamani on how to approach a teacher. Here in the previous verse it said Samit Pani, offer him whatever is important to you. But upasannaya also implies a lot more than that. It says upa, near. Sannaya, na nishchayati, again is implied here, which means with determination. He's approached with a determination that I'm going to sit at the feet of the master until I gain this knowledge, tadvijnanartham, which I'm seeking. And samyak is very important because it explains the attitude of humility. So to that student who's approached, then what happens? The qualifications of the student are enumerated here. It continues, but prashanta, chittaya, shaman, vitaya. So, prashanta chittaya, the student's mind is relatively quiet. Prashanta, chitta. The chitta is prashanta. It is relatively quiet. It is not gurgling with desires. You have seen many devotees come when they meet Guruji. They don't allow him to speak. They're just speaking. You've not come to listen. You've come. I met someone in the ashram just 2 days ago. I should not say because you'll figure who it was. And the lady just kept talking. And by the time Swamiji tries to answer one question, they move to something else. And I just sat back and observed and observed. And you realize that you don't even answer their question. You just let them flow. That's not prashanta chittaya. That is highly rajasic chitta. And I want to ask 40,000 questions in the 15 minutes I'm with you. I'm not really interested in your answers, but I just want to speak. So prashanta chittaya is a student's mind is relatively quiet, not gurgling with desires. Atmabodh gives a similar one. Tapobhi sheena papanam. Ones whose mind is vasanas are sheena. They've been denudated to a certain extent. Shantanam vitaraginam. So the mind is relatively quiet, with not running with too many likes and dislikes. So he's endowed with shama. Shaman vitaya is endowed with shama. Now shama means control of the mind, quietude of the mind. Now this shama also implies the other virtues of the mind which a seeker must possess. So shaman vitaya means control of the mind. There's a Bhagavad Gita, Holy Gita commentary before chapter 1, the introduction, Gurudev gives an explanation known as the theory of perception in Vedanta, in which it says objects are not perceived by the mind. Interesting. Objects are not perceived by the mind, but they are perceived by the mind flowing through the sense organs. I read this 26 years ago. I was like, oh, yeah, I just memorized it. It's a powerful statement. Objects are not perceived by the mind. Anyone want to give an example proving this case?
Just, sorry, may I speak?
Please.
Yeah, what strikes me is just if you're concentrating on something else, if you could be with a lot of people with lots of sounds and things going on around you, but your mind is thinking about something else, and you will not actually hear or take notice or digest what's happening around you. So someone could ask you, what did so-and-so say? And you say, I have no clue.
Exactly. Anyone who's married here should have answered that question immediately. How many times should I tell you to do A, B, C? And you say, when did you tell me? I told you 5 minutes ago when you go to the grocery shop, get milk. Oh, I never heard that. The ears heard, the mind did not listen. So objects are not perceived by the mind, but by the mind flowing through the sense organs. So Shama is control of the mind's flow through the sense organs to the sense objects, is known as Shama. Dhamma. Dhamma is control of the sense stimuli entering the mind through the sense objects. I say, isn't that the same thing? Is it? Anyone?
Dhamma is more like restraint, right? So you don't expose yourself to that stimuli.
Exactly. Because if you expose yourself to sense stimuli, the function of the sense organs is to enable, to respect the sense stimuli. If there's noise, the ear's function is to hear. And even though your mind may not flow out, it becomes disturbed. And when it becomes disturbed, it will flow out. Why do they say do meditation early in the morning, 5 a.m.? Because then you can close the lights, but you don't see anything. You're not sitting next to anyone, you're not touching anything. There is no noise in the morning, you're not hearing anything. You're not eating anything, there's no taste. The one thing you cannot control is smell. But hopefully at that point, there isn't too much of smells. So the idea is to control the amount of sense stimuli which will enter unfettered via my sense organs to disturb the mind. If the senses are not controlled, the mind will not be controlled. Analogy given in the Bhagavad Gita. The reins, the mind is the reins that hold on to the sense objects, the sense organs. If the reins are, the steed are held tight, the sense organs are controlled. If the sense organs are violently shaking, the steed also shakes, the mind also shakes. Taking that a step further, and I was thinking about this week, so what does the intellect mean then? What does the intellect mean? Gurudev said the intellect divorced from our mind is a measure of how far we have fallen in our objective self away from our subjective self. And I still didn't understand it until this week. So the intellect, and again, we've read the statement, the Guru is the pure intellect within, the purified intellect. What the hell does that even mean? Vasanas expressed at the intellectual level as a desire. The mind then starts pulling on the sense organs. The sense organs then instruct the sense, our organs of action to act. If the intellect, pratyak srotasya atmani, Kapil Gita, if the intellect now turns its attention inward, the flow of thoughts turn inward towards the Atman, what happens? Dvasta guna pravaham. The vasanas get, the gunas get destroyed. That means the intellect becomes purer and purer. Its ability to control the mind becomes stronger and stronger. The distance between my objective self and subjective selves becomes narrower and narrower. So Shama, Dhamma, mind, sense organs, restraining intellect is all fitting in. I'll leave you to think about that one. Mind, which is in Shama, and Dhamma. Mind is controlled, sense organs are controlled. That means there's no sense stimuli entering the mind. The mind is not flowing out seeking sense stimulation. That mind which you own for the first time in your life is known as a mind in Uparama. My mind in my pocket is Uparama. Now, a mind which is in Uparama can do only two things. And most of the time, it will do the first thing, which is sleep. If a mind has not been stimulated, going anywhere, and nothing is coming in, you will sleep. That is the condition you create for sleep at night. I'm not thinking about anything. I don't want anything to disturb me. I put on my covers. Good night. That's Uparama. When you tell your child to study, and the child really wants to study, he withdraws his mind from all his friends, all his toys, all his objects, all his video games, sits at his desk, and then what? Either he sleeps or he studies. That mind which is then employed in study is known as samadhana. Mind which is in Uparama, withdrawn, the ability to apply that in your sadhana, absorbing the mind in the self, which is our sadhana, is known as samadhana. Another virtue of the mind in this progression, which is a big topic, there are two more, Shraddha and Titiksha. We've done Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, Samadhana. I know people always do it in the reverse, and Samadhana is last, but it flows this way. Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, Samadhana. En route, two things are needed. Shraddha and Titiksha. Which one do you think comes first?
Shraddha,
Who said that?
I said that.
Yes, Chandrama, why is that?
Because it's only when you have the faith and the belief will you get the eagerness or the desire to learn, to absorb the knowledge.
But why does it come before Titiksha? Or should Titiksha come before Shraddha?
No, titiksha is to be able to do something without fretting about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you have the faith, only then will you not fret. Otherwise, the doubts will come into your mind.
Perfecto. Perfecto. If Shraddha, Titiksha is the ability, Gurudev's beautiful definition, the ability to withstand the pinpricks of life.
Yeah.
And if you don't have faith in what you're trying to achieve, then Krishna and Roshni will get a call. My bed is too hard. I need 4 pillows. There's mosquitoes, lizards in my room. It is not clean. Help me out. What else do you get? Water, the food. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And it is endless because if we do not have titiksha, then the whole process becomes silly almost. We're trying to gain the infinite, but I'm worried about my pillow. I'm worried about my food. Worried about my shoes, an umbrella, my laundry. I know because these are things I ask too when I go there. So Shraddha comes before Titiksha. Now Shraddha is a big topic. We've done this many times. Who can tell me what kinds of Shraddha we need?
Faith in the scriptures, faith in the Guru, faith in oneself. How many are there? Sorry.
You tell me. Faith in Guru, faith in the scriptures, faith in oneself. Number 4, anyone?
Sorry, what do you mean by faith in oneself?
I'm not useless. I'm an idiot. I'm incapable. What will a useless fellow like me do?
How do you overcome those? Because these are natural for a lot of people.
We'll discuss them one by one. 4th,
Faith in the means.
faith in the means is the 5th one, yes?
Faith in Ishvara.
Faith in God. We forgot the Lord himself. Faith in Ishvara. Okay, so faith in the scriptures. We've discussed that ad infinitum. Vedaha pramanam, atindriya vishe vedaha pramanam, Vedantanam Upanishad praman, Brahma Jignasamananam pramanam paramam shruti, faith in the scriptures. In fact, if any path, any guru, any teacher you meet who doesn't advocate the Vedanta, I walk away. We choose to do what you want. So Vedaha Pramanam, faith in the scriptures. Faith in God, faith in the existence of God. No one knows what God is. Faith in the existence of some rule maker which has created these rules in this game which I am playing. Faith in oneself, very important. And all these programs we have in Chinmaya Mission, what Swamiji said at camp this week, called, there's a youth camp. What's the topic, anyone?
Win the mind, win the world.
In the mind, win the world. To establish confidence in oneself. Second one he's doing is called Make It Happen. Make it happen. The critical bottom line of that program is, how do I believe in myself? So that my life isn't only about, I go to school, I graduate, I marry, I have kids, I grow old. As Swamiji said the other day, then I play golf or I go on cruises, and then I die. Even he said, at a 75-year-old man who felt, I'm now done and I'm just going to play golf or go to cruises, came to make it happen and was able to discover his purpose. And he used the word limiting belief. So basically, we've created a belief system that this is all I can achieve in life. The idea of Make It Happen is to smash through that there is no, your capacity to make whatever happen is unlimited. This is the bottom line. So it is to build confidence and faith in oneself that, yes, I can, to quote Obama. So that's faith in oneself. And that's important. If you're trying to achieve the infinite and you say, I'm a useless creature, you are denigrating yourself, you're denigrating the very Lord that gave you this very rare human birth. And that's a whole psychological counseling session separately. Then the 5th one, and the most important one, people say faith in the Guru is important, faith in God is important, faith in scripture is important, faith in oneself is important, granted. The most important one is faith in the means prescribed to you by the Guru. Because that alone can blast everything else. You may not even believe in the Guru, but at least if you have faith in the program prescribed, you may feel your doctor is useless. But if you have faith in the medicine which he's given you, that medicine can cure you, and derive faith in your doctor or faith in your Guru, and that will give you faith in the Lord, which will give you faith in the scriptures, which will give you faith in yourself. So faith in the means, and what is sorely lacking in most sadhaks is faith in the means prescribed by the Guru.
But surely, if you have faith in the Guru, you will obviously have faith in what he's telling you.
That's what I thought, Chandrama, until after 26 years in the mission, I have sorely come to the conclusion that that is a massive fallacy.
But I mean, if you're believing somebody and then disbelieving what he says, you're canceling out the first belief.
Logically, perfectly put. Practically.
Sorry.
Rishabh?
No, you were mid-sentence. Please finish.
No, go ahead.
Practical. No, I was just remembering, if anyone knows Hindi here, Guruji often quotes this as well. Guru ko mante hai, Guru ki nahi mante hai. So we believe in a Guru, but we don't believe in the prescription of the Guru.
That's exactly the line I was looking at.
Yes.
And Chandrama, I will say 99.9%, I don't have any scientific evidence, so I throw these numbers out to make a point, of established sadhakas, brahmacharis, even sannyasis in the mission fall in that category. I'm making a point. Obviously, my numbers are not scientifically derived. To establish the critical nature of this fifth aspect of faith. I was discussing this with Swamiji, and I'm telling you too much private stuff here. And he said, what was the discussion? Most of the old timers in the mission have something known as intellectual bhakti. I wasn't sure I understood that. Guru is not a person. Guru is an institution. And we quote that. Yeah, I'm the man. Guru is the pure intellect within. Yeah, we love that stuff. Because we're Vedantins. Guru is not a person. That intellectual bhakti will cap your progress. Because that intellectual bhakti is not sufficient. It's a necessary condition, not sufficient condition. Because when the Guru tells you something your intellect disagrees with, which it will and must, because it is still an intellect. An intellect implies a vasana expressing through the intellect to create a jiva. So when the intellect disagrees with the intellectual instruction, sadhana by the Guru, you will say, I think he's wrong. I know better. He does not have the experience I do. He's from a different generation. He's not in my shoes. That will stunt your development. And the mission is replete with folks like this. Many, including all of us.
The other, sorry, Sush.
That kind of bhakti is known as Nirbhara Bhakti Bhaja Govindam. Nirbhara Bhakti. That Nirbhara Bhakti is the only thing which can give us this fifth kind of Shraddha, faith, in the sadhana prescribed by the Guru. That's been my conclusion over the last 24 hours in the showers.
These are very powerful words, Suresh.
Is that Chris?
Yeah, sorry, I can't have my video on. Yes, very powerful words.
Hopefully truthful and something we agree, and I'm not insulting anyone because I'm speaking about myself too.
I have to say, Bhau, when you were speaking, I was thinking about those times when I have second guessed Guruji, Swamiji, whoever. And all I can say is thank God for their compassion, because I've taken questions back. I mean, there's like operational questions, for example, 4 times to Guruji because I have not been able to accept the answer. And just honestly, thank God for the compassion. I don't know where we'd be without it.
I mean, there have been so many examples over the last 2 decades. And when I reflect on now, I'm like, whoa, okay. It's all coming slowly, slowly.
I questioned Swamiji about something after the meditation camp. And he said to me, he said, the Guru is within you. And for me, that was one of the most important things that Swamiji has said to me.
It's okay. So the sadhana prescribed, if we're unable to follow the words of the Guru, what is that? What is that from the Guru Gita? Dhyana Moolam Guru Murtim. Puja Moolam Guru Padam. Mantra Moolam Guru Vakya. Mukti Moolam Guru Kripa. Mantra Moolam Guru Vakya. So his words should be your mantra. And if we don't follow the 5th, then those 4 only take us so far. Nirbhara Bhakti. Faith, where were we?
I also feel that we have to keep checking ourselves all the time. Every time, our thoughts run away, or we have to keep checking ourselves, and by attending classes and by, doing this Shraddha grows more and more.
Hari Om, Suresh Bhai.
Hari Om.
Slightly different take on this. Like all of us, we know people who are in different sects and faiths. And I know some people who have complete and utter faith in their guru, but to the point where their intellect doesn't come into play at all. And there are some sampradayas who ask their followers of this, just complete and utter blind faith in what the Guru says and does. And then sometimes that's not the right way. So what would be your answer to that? Because you said that Chinmaya Mission is thought of as an intellectual organization, and that's one of the things that attracts me to being in this mission.
You raise a good point. Use your intellect to go beyond the intellect. Don't use the intellect to stay at the intellectual level, is my point. Chinmaya Mission specializes in using the intellect, and we get stuck at the intellectual level. To go beyond that will require something known as bhakti. And that bhakti is again, Bhakti Sudha was the last of the sadhana sopan Guruji has written. And I've said this many, many times. Manachodhanam, Jnanasar, Dhyana Swarupam, followed by Bhakti Sudha. Bhakti is the last step of this journey. And because that allows us to then go beyond the intellect. So it's just a chitavani, a warning, watching the carcasses of devotees that have come before us. Let us not fall into the same trap.
I think when Harshaben, when you were speaking, the other thing that came to my mind, which again I've heard Guruji say many, many times, is that Prem and Vivek have to go hand in hand. They have to go together. So, and just for example, there was a lady here when Guruji was last here, and she emptied out her entire wallet just as she was leaving to go to the airport. And she said, "Oh, Guruji, when you go to a temple, you're meant to empty yourself completely." And then, so he said, "But you're traveling and you need money to travel." And so there's Vivek that has to be applied, not just Prem. So Prem and Vivek both have to go together. And then he went on to say, which is another point altogether, that actually what's said when you go to a temple, empty all the wrong false notions from the head. It's not just emptying out your wallet, but that Prem and Vivek thing is actually, especially when you find yourself predominantly being of that emotional bent, and you feel yourself, okay, wanting to, from that emotion act, I think that's when the intellect, the Viveka being a function of the intellect, I think that's where it comes into play.
Nice one, thank you.
Yeah, can I just add very briefly to this idea that faith is devoid of intellect is definitely not right. We've been told it many times, and intelligence, or Krishna described as Viveka, but all of this faith is all having had an understanding and having calmed the intellect down, which is why then it is no longer kind of being an obstacle. And that intellect can only be calmed down when it has been satisfied a little bit as well. Otherwise, blind faith is simply, as Shanti just put it, is just simply building up pressure in the dam, which is then going to burst at some point in unforeseen ways. So true faith has to be involved both.
Description is what? Gurudev's description. Faith is belief in what I do not know, so I may come to see what I did not know, something to that effect. Faith is belief in what I cannot see, so I may come to see what I believe in. So it's validation of something that I do not know, but through knowledge I will come to know it. But the point of this is faith will take you only so far, unless the faith is absolute. And faith is absolute is known as Nirbhara Bhakti, which means I must follow the instructions of the Guru. That's the bottom line. Okay, so now...
Sorry, Suresh, can I just share a little a snippet as well? I just remember, this is going back 10 years ago, actually. We'd had a camp with Guruji in our centre that we had at the time in Oxford. And I remember it was when I was expecting, and there was another one of our fellow seekers who was also pregnant at the time. And then some of the elder kind of aunties asked Guruji the question around how soon should a mother go back to work after having a child, and all of that. It's quite a big topic, and a lot of women were there, actually, of really different generations as well. And I remember Guruji started his answer by saying, "You should only ask me this question if you're going to follow what I'm going to say." And it was like almost like the prerequisite to answering that question was that only if you follow this will I actually give you my answer on this, which was life-changing for me. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I was there for that.
What did he say, out of curiosity? What was his answer?
I think that's a whole other
okay.
Are you ready to follow it?
Harry, I'd just like to add something else. Sorry, this has been going on quite long on this point. Just want to say that what struck me when words like blind faith, etc., were mentioned. See, the thing is, we are of the intellectual ilk, which is why we're kind of, when someone else is expressing what we think is blind faith, we think, oh, their intellect is stalled. But I think that's where we just have to leave it to Ishvara and say, well, look, in that cosmic intelligence, the sadhana for that person is obviously of this nature, and who am I to question the effectiveness of the path that they are pursuing? And perhaps we should just stop it at that, because we've chosen our path because of the way, the kind of Vasta makeup that we have. And as Gurudev always said, each one finds the Guru as the student, so the Guru. So the teacher that we need comes to us. And if we need that kind of blind, what we on the Chinmaya mission consider as blind faith with no intellect whatsoever, then fine, so be it. That's their path. But in this lifetime, that's the way I've kind of tried to see it in my journey as well. When things that don't seem to make sense around me, I see. Instead of judging, just leave it to Ishvara. He knows what he's doing.
So that leads us to some discrimination as to what is the Guru Rakshana. The second half of this verse. It was touched on previously, Shrotriyam Brahmanishta. So we don't really know what a Brahmanishta is. So how do we judge that? Shrotriyam, okay, is well versed in the scriptures. There are many, many Swamis who are well versed in the scriptures, and non-Swamis and Grihasthas as well. So what should the Guru do? Even instructions are given here, not for the Guru to do, but for us to know what the Guru should do. This is Yenaksharam Purusham Veda Satyam Provacha Tam Tattvato Brahma Vidyam. Provacha Tam, he should speak, he should teach. Tam, to you. Tattvato Brahma Vidyam. Tattvataha, in its true essence, Brahma Vidya. It didn't say he should teach you how to start a Gaushala, or how you should start a tea station, or how you should develop a business together. Provachatam Tattvata Brahma Vidyam. And what is that Brahma Vidya? Yena Aksharam Purusham Veda Satyam. He should give us that knowledge. Veda here does not mean Vedas. Veda means by which we come to know. He should give us that knowledge by which we come to know what? Aksharam Purusham Satyam. Actually, before I jumped a step here, we're talking about Guru Lakshana. To finish off with the Shishya Lakshana. So we've done Vivek, Vairagya. The sixfold qualities of the mind we just did, Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhana, is known as Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, also known as Shat Sampatti. And the fourth qualification is Mumukshutva, which was given in the first verse. If you remember, Mumukshurvai Sharanam Aham Prapadye. He says, I am a Mumukshu, I surrender to you because I want to know the truth. These four full qualifications of Vivek, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti, Mumukshutva is known as Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna. And the reason it's given is to the extent we are able to cultivate these qualities, to that extent we are going to benefit from this knowledge. So when they say prerequisite, to the extent that I have studied music, understood music, I'm researching music, to that extent I'll be able to enjoy the orchestra or the concert I go to. To the extent that I'm qualified as a doctor, to that extent I will be a good doctor. To the extent that I have these qualifications in me, to that extent I will enhance my receptivity, my retention, and my experience of this tattva. That's the importance. So that ends the Shishya Lakshana. Now the Guru Lakshana, he should teach only Brahma Vidya, what is Brahma Vidya? Yenaksharam Purusham Veda Satyam. By which I come to Veda, know what? Aksharam Purusham Satyam. Purusha is Purnatvat Purushaha, by which I come to know that infinite, complete knowledge, which makes me complete. Purusha also means all-pervading. Aksharam, imperishable, unchanging. Satyam, the truth, is that which was true in the past, in the present, and in the future. Uncontradictable, incontrovertible, I think is the correct English language. Trikala abhadita vatstu iti satyam. That which is not contradicted in all three periods of time is known as satyam. So the guru must not teach him stuff. When a qualified student comes, he should not teach him do murti puja, start a gaushala, start a tea stall, start a business. So when we say use our intellect, if you find a guru and you feel you're qualified and you want something, then be careful about what they're offering. Shankaracharya has a very clear instruction for the guru. It says, Acharyasya api ayam niyamaha yat nyaya prapta. It is the duty and responsibility of the teacher that when a qualified student comes, the guru must give him only tattva jnana to help him cross the ocean of ignorance. That is duty and his responsibility. And he says, if the teacher does not have that capacity or capability, he must not accept a disciple. If a true student comes and he wants Sat, and the teacher is not a Satguru, he should not accept the disciple. I think I've covered most of it here. I'll come to see if I've forgotten anything. I think I've covered most of the points. So we've done Shishya Lakshana, which is what we should focus on. Then Guru Lakshana is given, so we may find the right Guru. Yes, Ishvara is the only one who connects us to our right Guru. And we get the Guru we deserve. So use our intellect because we've been given a lot of pointers. The Guru must teach Vedanta. He must be a Shrotriya, Brahmanishta, Karuna Sagar, ocean of compassion, wanting nothing from you but to give you this knowledge so that you may see what he sees. Nothing else does the Guru want from you, and teaches you nothing but Sat. That's the duty of the teacher. I'll leave it there for any questions that we may have. I've spoken a lot.
This is going to the first half of what we talked about in terms of Shama Dhamma. For me, when I think about what we get exposed to as sense organs, it's our physical needs or wants. But so where is the seat of like the emotional needs? Of course, I guess it comes from our vasanas or, like what we're looking to. But I think I've just been more thinking about how do we pay attention to that? Because in my own reflection, I feel like we've got enough comforts, right? And so the desires for those type of physical, like physical sense pleasures, I find a lot more easier to manage and control. But it's just that emotional stuff that shows up, and how do you look out for, that stimuli, and where's the seat of that is what I'm wondering.
That's a very good question. A very, very good question. The emotional stuff usually arises from within. It's rarely any object outside. Our relationship with it is based on our perception of value or desire to satiate something that will complete me. And from that whole, HOLE, in our heart, we develop that sense of emotional bond to our perceived notion that an attachment to that object, thing, place will complete me. And devoid of that, we develop this emotional attachment, need, dependency. Lack of clarity at the intellectual level will lead to a greater emotional need or imbalance in our system. That's why Vedanta is clear. There are two things needed. It doesn't talk about emotions. It says purity of mind and clarity of thought. Purity of mind simply means cleansing of the vasanas, which is possible only as a result of the grace of the Guru. And as cleansing of the vasanas happen, then the purity of mind increases. When the purity of mind increases, any emotional hollowness or emotional needs that arise will be able to be controlled by our intellectual capacity because of the clarity of thought. Which is why when you ask Guruji, what is Vedanta? He says in one word, it is Viveka. Because Vivek is the only thing which will help one to distinguish between my emotional and my intellectual imbalance and shift it more from the emotional towards the intellectual. The emotional capacity for love is something which needs to have no boundaries. Because out of an intellectual purity will come an unbounded capacity in us to love ourselves and everyone around us. And it is that infinite love which one needs to cultivate. So if it's emotion we're talking about, it should be the emotion of love is the only thing that one must keep unbounded. Everything else is simply a product of my desire, selfishness, recognition, fame, name, position, and either I achieve it and therefore I'm overly joyed in that emotion, or I don't receive it and I'm unhappy, or I'm envious of someone, and all the other emotions that arise in us. The capacity for empathy is something which is a byproduct of spiritual evolution, actually. And very few have that. I don't know if I've answered your question, Roshni. I was rambling on there.
No, I think just that that piece around bringing that integration, right, between the mind and the intellect and strengthening that. I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Is that bridging of the gap between the objective and the subjective mind. The greater that is, you're an emotional wreck. Narrow it is, the more clarity of vision, clarity of thought comes in. We have some new people. Amrita Nambiar. Have I missed you in this class before?
I think this is my second class. Sorry.
Ah, okay. Where are you based?
In Pembrokeshire, Wales.
Wales, okay. Shivli, this is your third class?
It's my third class.
Any questions? Over to you.
No, I've been studying other scriptures through the mission, so quite.
Suresh Uncle, can we give 2 minutes to Vijaji to share whatever she wants to?
I see. Vijaji, where are you? I can't. Oh, there she is. I see you. Too many people on the screen. Please tell us about your experience. I was very pleased to hear, so go ahead. You're on mute.
I actually don't know what to say. It was
Let's give some background. People may not know half the background.
okay. So I went to Mumbai and actually did a detour for my normal trip. Just it was something Sureshji had said about sort of actually meeting and being in the presence of the Guru, and I thought I can't go all the way to India and not make an effort to go and see Guruji. So I did a detour and stayed at the ashram for a night and had a meeting with him. And the compassion and love that was in his eyes was just, I don't know. And so I had a fall. I twisted my arm, and the moment I walked in, and he sort of made a joke and then said, you know, what happened to your arm? And then it's really funny what we were talking about, because I'd been to a few places where, you know, I'm a bit OCD about cleanliness and things. And I'd sort of made a bit of a fuss in one or two places. Guruji, without knowing any of this, said, you've been too finicky and that's why this has happened to you. And I knew that. I knew when I went to see him that that was the case. And then when he was taking the picture, he actually covered my arm with his and said, so that no one else can see. We don't want anyone to see your thing. Which is why his arm was on mine on the picture. Yeah, and he, there were quite a few other people there, and there was, you know, quiet. And he suddenly came up with, I chase it and I don't catch it, and then I turn my face away from it and it chases me. And then I stand still and then nothing. And it was like, you know, all of you can take what you want from it. And yeah, so people are giving their own interpretations and things, but yeah, I don't know, I've just come away. Yeah. Just a lot quieter. Yeah. So you don't want to leave him. You you know, you wanted to stay in his presence all the time. Yeah. I have nothing more to say.
Thank you for that. Shall we wrap up on that beautiful note? Next week is Diwali in London, which Chinmay Mission is chairing. So Pujya Swamiji will be here and we'll be taking him to Trafalgar Square. So we'll have to skip class again, unfortunately. Then we will have class on the 19th. And then again, unfortunately, I'm in India. So no class on the 26th. Then we will resume on November 2nd. Then we will have class on the 2nd, 9th, 16th. Then again, I'm in India for 3 months. So then we'll figure out how we have classes from India. I'll be in touch. So no class next week. We'll continue the following week. I'll put on the group. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.